Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Justin Palmer Show. Today's guest is General Judd from New York and by way of the Carolinas. We had an incredibly soulful conversation about General's experience growing up Black in the South, how that shaped his journey, how some random people along the way helped free him from some of the things that were holding him back, and just the beauty of his journey through life, meeting Sidney Poitier, who was his idol, performing for almost 2 decades in the Blue Man Group as one of the Blue Men, and really just the human existence as he sees it now. So yeah, this was a special one. I hope you guys truly enjoy it. General is an incredible human being. I'm truly proud to call him a friend. And, you know, I think we all have something to learn from his story. Hope you enjoy.
It's the Justin Palmer Show. Here we go. Woo! Woo!
Here we go. Live and direct, straight out of Brooklyn, by way of the Carolinas.
Yes.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Yes, y'all.
How is it that you didn't get that Southern draw? Did you have it at one point?
You know what? I did. It was really heavy. When I was in high school, I took radio and television broadcasting of all things, and worked on it hard to get rid of it because, you know, I thought, you know, I actually thought I wanted to be in radio. We had a radio station that we would do shows in the summer. And so I worked on getting rid of my accent so I would have that sort of from nowhere. You could just be anywhere and everywhere. But it comes back. When I go home, you know, to the Carolinas, my family, it's back immediately. You know, the words get drawn out and I'm saying y'all and let's get some biscuits and all of that kind of stuff like that, man. You know how it is down there.
That's amazing. When you talk to your parents, does it like naturally come out?
Yeah. It's all of that stuff is built in us. You know, when you're around certain friends, you got a certain voice. I remember my daughter one time asking me, she's like certain friends, she's like, why do you talk like that with them? You know, like with some of my friends who were just like, yo, man, yeah, what's up? You know, I was like, oh yeah, I've got different voices for different friends and different things. It's all me, but you know, it's the timing or the years that I've spent with someone, and so that reflects on the way that I am with them, and then sometimes it just goes in and out. Sometimes also.
That's wild.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
I remember when I first moved to New York, and people were like, "Oh, yeah," I never thought I had an accent. I was like, "Oh, I don't have an accent," right? Yep. And so I moved to New York and they're like, you're not from here, right? And I was like, how do you know? And they're like, you have an accent. And I was like, no, you have an accent.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the same thing, but I knew I had one. It was crazy heavy. And my sister, my oldest sister, dude, sometimes now she calls me, I cannot understand her. It's but it's how we grew up. She talks really fast, and it's that Southern drawl, and she goes on, and it's really funny. It makes me laugh. I love her so much.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I didn't realize. I never really thought about that until now. And in terms of like the heavy draw that you just don't have.
Yeah.
And what was that like to get rid of that from? I mean, what was that like going through that experience as a teenager, getting rid of something that is like a natural part of who you are? Was that strange?
You know what? It wasn't, because I had my eye on other things. to to what my interests were. Uh, I didn't want to be, uh, we were from this poor community, and growing up in the South, and there's a stigma that comes with that whole thing. I had my eye on getting out of that and being away from that and being able to uh, go out into the world and see the world and be accepted, no matter where and what you were doing. Because, yeah, people do sort of course, judge you on if you've got a Southern accent, or if a certain way and certain things like that. People are like that. And so I wanted to kind of change that, and have this other thing that I could say, hey, I'm going over there, or I can be over there, and I can fit in, and in some weird way. But I'm still from the South. You can't take that out, and I'm still me, and I still show up in this body, in this form. But I remember one time I was I was on the phone in a bathroom or something, in a place where I took my kids or something for something, and I was in the bathroom and I was on the phone, and came out of the stall, and there was a guy in there, and he was like, "Damn, man, I thought," this is what he said. He said, "I thought you were a white guy." I was like, "It's like what?" He's like, you don't sound black." I was like, "What do you mean I don't sound black?" He's like, "Nah, you don't sound." I was like, "Oh, so I'm not using the right words or something like that." But and my phone call was just normal conversation. But people have a stereotype, they have a stigma, they have a thing how we all should fit in a box, and we don't. And that's, I think that is the box that I actually wanted to get out of, and not. But it works for you and it works against you, kind of. But I guess, why not have those tools? I can go in and out, and it's not that I'm not being me. I am being me, but I'm definitely aware of who I'm talking to, and who I'm. It's I'm the same person, but I know there's levels of my personality that I use, and my voice is a part of that. So you make it work.
Yeah. It's fascinating to hear you say that. I've never had like a discussion like that. I grew up in a way, also not super well off, right? Not like dirt poor. We didn't have a roof over our head, right? We had that. Right?
Yeah.
And I remember one of my first memories is we lived in a 1-bedroom house that was probably the size of like a decent sized New York 1-bedroom.
Yep.
And it was my mom, my sister, and me, and we had just transitioned out of a women's shelter that we were in for a short period of time because my mom was in like an abusive relationship. I was very young, probably 3. And there was another family that lived with us. I have no idea how long. I haven't really talked to my mom about this that much, but I have no idea how long they lived with us for. And it was a black family. It was a woman and her son.
Right.
And me and him, we just became best friends. We were like same age, watching A-Team. My mom let me watch A-Team on this like black and white box with the V antenna.
Oh yeah, I remember those, man.
And I'm so grateful for that experience because I never saw the world in terms of color. Yeah. I just never have. And so it's what's happening right now is it's a bit foreign to me because I don't identify with it at all. And it's interesting for me to hear you say that because that must have been shocking to have someone say that to you, like coming out of the bathroom.
Yeah. It was, but being from the South, I same thing for me. I didn't view the world from a black and white or perspective because at an early age I was just open to every person and everything. But because of racism in the South, yeah, I learned that early on that I was this to people, a other thing or a second thing or a something to be talked about and looked down upon. And it was, yeah, it became, this whole reason that we're going through this whole thing now. It became a part of my life where I knew uh, certain people to avoid, know what to look out for, those dangers, those things that we now have to, tell our kids, put your hands on 10 and 2. I mean, I grew up in the South, you know, way back when. Um, and I think I remember, that I remember there was, of course, the Emmett Till story and things. So my parents had that in their minds, in their heads, in their fears. Um, and so they would worry about that. They knew how things were. And so they would put that out there. They would give us that warning to say, hey, don't say that to that person. Don't whistle at that girl. Don't, all of those things, because those things result in, as we know, really bad things. That's why this country is where it is today. And I'm definitely a product of that kind of racism. So I'm definitely aware. And I mean, it took a long time um, to not judge people based on visual. But when I moved to New York, I remember being in the meatpacking district, and I think there was the bar Hogs and Heifers.
Hmm.
Yeah, and these big
Rest in peace, Hogs and Heifer. I don't think it exists anymore, right?
No, no,
The
it
rents
doesn't.
got too damn high.
Yeah, man. And I remember like these big, burly, beefy guys. In my mind, that's you think that's someone that's going to be the term redneck or whatever, and they're going to be was a problem, or it's going to be a problem, and it wasn't. And so that was a thing that threw me for a loop. And it took time to break that down and break that away. And as we see today, people who are on that side, you would never know. You can't
Hmm.
judge anyone by the way they look or anything like that, or even the people of my own color. You can't judge and say, hey, you're going to be on my side. That's not true. So this whole racial thing, man, is crazy. It's deep. It's but it needs to be discussed in the way that it's being discussed, because I mean we're grown-ups. We're here to move the world and to change things and to try to be fair, but that's not the case. We know. And so yeah, it's such an interesting thing, man.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing it openly, because I don't know how much you've I mean, I've never had a deep conversation about this. Not because, I mean, the strange thing is like who I end up hanging out with are the people who are completely open and don't have those things that I know of, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Same here.
And, I remember coming across it even in a small town in the Northwest. Like a lot of my friends, we were just all poor. Like we're in there was like the kids from Thailand, there was the Filipinos, there were some black kids, there were some Mexican kids, like all this stuff. And we all hung out together because everybody was in the same neighborhood, you know? And so I remember encountering a couple things when like external people would come in that didn't live in the neighborhood, like somebody's friend of a friend, and that would like bubble up into something. But I can't imagine being fully present in that experience every day to the point where your parents are like, hey, you have to be aware of this, the way you and I would say you need to be aware of like who's around you in New York City, right? You have to pay attention to your surroundings. It's like it puts people on high alert.
Dude, it's crazy. I mean, for people to think that doesn't exist, or how a race of people or women also aren't affected by things that are just systematically wrong, and to be on alert. Like I say, if a woman dresses a certain way, she's got to be on alert that some guy is going to act a certain way, or something which is not correct. And those are the things that definitely are being worked on, but they have to just continue every day, everything that we're doing, every person should be responsible to take into account what they're doing and what they're saying to people, and how they make someone else feel. And yeah, it was tough. I Yeah, I came to New York with this racial thing. I mean, I used to work in film production, um, and I would keep my distance from people sometimes, and I didn't even mean to. But it was just this insecurity of who I knew who I was, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess my place is over here. Um, and I remember talking to an actor. I was on the film crew on The Abyss. This film with James Cameron, and this all these people that were, it was just mind blowing for me. But to be standing on set and talk to these actors, and I remember at the rap party, like I was keeping my distance, and one of the actors came over. He's like, "Yo, man, what's up?" He's like, "We've seen you every day at work, and you're doing your thing, and you're working." He says, "Why don't you come over and talk?" And then we got into a deep conversation, and he was like, "Oh, it's the racial thing that's preventing you from just being free." Uh,
Hmm.
and it really made me think. I was like, wow, if I was completely did not have that thing in me that was underneath, um, who would I actually be? How free? What would I create? What would I do? I actually still, think about today, and that was years ago. Um, who would we all be? Who would, you know, people who felt like they haven't been kept down, what would they accomplish? That if you knew that every dream or everything that you could accomplish, um, could happen, could really happen. And I'm not talking about the lottery or something like that, where let's spend our money and try to win more money. No, it's like there are people who they didn't go to the best schools and do the best things, but they have some great ideas, but they don't have the confidence to say, hey, I could create a business that does this. I mean, things are slowly happening now, and there's entrepreneurs that are doing things, but um, yeah, I just remember just when you're not taught something at an early age, which a lot of people are, depending on where you come from, and that's the awareness that we need now for people who know that they've had an advantage and had this thing, and it means something to other people. There are other people who don't want to move ahead in life and do these things, but there are others who do want to do that, and
Hmm.
they felt like they couldn't, or they didn't know how, or they didn't, um, they just, you've they need help, they need some support, they need something to say, hey, you know what, you now can do that, because look, we've got these things in place, and we've got people in place, and we've got you got heroes to look up to, as far as it's business or anything, or film or TV, anything like that. It's like we all need someone to let you know that all things are possible, and not that a system can tell you or make it where it's not possible, because that just came with the history of this country. So it's, I don't even,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's beyond the history of this country, right? It's the history of humanity,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what my observation is. People have a tendency to need to label things.
exactly.
And I think I've never read anything about this, but I think from like a biological perspective, that probably served a purpose at some point. Like you need to be like, oh, that's a fucking lion, right?
Right,
Like
right, yeah.
that's a stream of water. I can drink that. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah,
But as our civilization has evolved to this high level with a high degree of technology, that labeling is now going to these things that in reality, in reality of the human experience, they don't even matter,
right,
right? It's
yeah,
like, okay, close your eyes, talk to a person, and you're just having a human conversation. That's it.
that's
It's
all.
really that. It is. I know that sounds simple, but it actually is that simple. When
It
you
is.
are aware, like you said, I think that's a great point, that is getting brushed over in how we educate children. Even in a subtle way, the kids in New York or wherever you are, they go to a good school. They're taught that they go to a good school. Mm-hmm. It's inherent. Somehow they pick that up. I don't know how they pick that up, but I've noticed my kids picking that up, even though I've never talked about it to them.
Yeah.
And I just say, I try to teach humbleness in it, in that I was like, well, not everyone has that opportunity. So let's try to appreciate that. And let's also respect that other people don't have that opportunity. And it's not so much like a race or a gender thing. It's a human thing. I'm not like, they exist in the racial context, in the gender context, but they also exist in other things. Like you see, it goes all the way through to like football fans, right? If you're a New York Giants fan and you go to Philadelphia, and I'm not trying to make light of the situation, Philadelphia fans will beat you up in the parking lot,
of course.
You know, and it's this human need to put an us versus them mentality, right?
Yeah.
And as our civilizations have grown and like cities have come together, there's a need to evolve from that. And I think that's what's happening right now, which is ultimately a good thing. I think it's challenging how it's coming out and surfacing in society, because it's just like humans do. They're like, you're either with us or you're against us. And if you're against us, we're going to go to war. And then the other side is doing the same thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And I'm like, at some point, this cycle has to stop. I don't know why it's so clear in a conversation like this, but then when people get around each other in a protest or in something that's meant to be positive, it just goes off the fucking rails.
It does, man. And that's why all of this, man, it's deep. It's like you would think it is that simple, just a conversation. If people who believe one way, there's nothing wrong with people disagreeing. And
totally.
That's okay. That's how we should learn, and how we should be like, hey, he didn't agree with me. We don't have to fight. We don't have to. That's the thing. Everyone thinks that. It's crazy to me. It blows my mind. That people think that you have to agree on everything. If you're even a football fan, or if you're having a conversation, like you said, about anything, people think that, if I'm having a conversation, you have to agree with what I'm saying. It's like, no, I don't. But even if we don't agree, it's okay. It's completely okay. We don't have to, it didn't have to go any further than that. But now, like you said, there's all these labels that everyone, they're like, they're left, they're right, they're over here, they're this. It's like, yeah, we can be all of those things, but there should not be any violence, any fighting. There's disagreements. Yeah, sure, that happens all the time. I mean, that's what we teach our children, that, so-and-so has your toy. You want it back now? They're not going to give it back. You gotta be patient. They're not agreeing with you. You're not agreeing with them. It can be worked out without a fight. And that's all we need to do. It's very simple, but we have complicated it just to the end where it's not good. And we need that change, and we need it to. It's going to be a long time before all of that change that we're looking for to happen. But it's got to be a daily, day in and day out. We got to grind it out, and we got to be better at everything that we're doing and everything that we're about. Like you say, even with the environment, same thing. We gotta, dude. It's almost November in New York, and for the last 2 or 3 years, it's been warm. I mean, we know that's happening everywhere. So it's like this is all a real deal. So we've got to be better than what we've been in all these years that we've been here. And we've been here a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think there's like, regardless of what the science says about anything, there's just like in how you interact with your family, you want to pursue kind of the highest values, right? So if you're going to go build a company or build something externally, or or create something, no matter what it is, be a responsible human. And I wanted to go back to something you mentioned, because you mentioned that this conversation at a rap party, kind of, it sounds like that was a impactful conversation with a relative stranger.
Yeah, it was. It was. I didn't know the guy, but he saw my distancing myself from everyone else uh, as a form of something, because I guess, he saw that I was a nice guy or whatever, but that my uneasiness or not my confidence in a certain thing, or being around, I don't know, people, and just opening up without it, but it was my upbringing, my experiences. I was in a safe environment, but still, what I had created within myself, probably for years, um, put me in a place that needed to be worked out, and he obviously saw that, and it was great. We had that conversation, and I always remember that story. I mean, because here I was on this amazing project and meeting all these amazing people, but here I am uncomfortable, and I'd been there for months, and still had this uneasiness. I was still in the South, of course, and I went home every night and had to deal with Southern things, because they still existed, because of things that people would say to you, and the stories, and the guys in the trucks that would chase you and throw stuff out at you and tell you these things, and it's like all of that stuff. Yeah, it adds up after a while, but you grow and you see that it's more about those people than yourself, and so it's yeah. So
That's a great point.
yeah, so
That's exactly what I teach my kids when they experience something, someone says something that hurts their feelings, or they're experiencing it. I'm like, you have a choice to stay on a higher frequency,
right,
or drop to a lower frequency. And it's okay. Either one is okay. The question is, do you want to be at that low frequency? And they're like, no, I don't like it. I don't like how I feel. And like those conversations when they're young, I'm like, dude, I'm probably going to have this conversation 5,000 times.
Oh yeah,
in various forms.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, man,
But
yeah,
it's a great point to be like, hey, something, whatever someone else says or does, it doesn't need to impact you. Right.
Right.
And in a way,
Right.
it's impacting you, but it's impacting you at the level of the ego, right? For your
Right.
need to fit in and to be social and, like to feel welcomed in a way.
Completely.
And I think what I've found in my own journey, because my thing wasn't that I had a different skin color, I just had a different situation, right? I grew up without my father around, and it created all the feelings that you're expressing. I can resonate with in the context of my own experience,
Right.
in that I didn't feel comfortable because I felt like something was missing.
Right.
I didn't have something that a lot of other people had, and that makes you really uncomfortable in a social setting as you become more aware of it.
Right.
And then as you it took me like 20 years, but as you process it, you're like, oh, that's just an illusion.
Yep.
Right? That's like, it's just a total illusion.
Man, that is the thing where you had to learn that. Same with me. It took me years to realize that it is about the other people, and that illusion that I've created from those incidents and things. We're illusions, but they exist, and they're really there, and they're in your face. But it's how you move through them and what you learn from them to be able to move on in life, and to better yourself, and to come out on the other side and with a positive outlook on it all, because you have to, because if not, you will be, it will destroy you. I mean, look where we are today. We're in a situation that has been around far too long. Like you said, we're backing up,
Mhm.
and it's like yeah, no one wants to go back to way things were way back when, and feel those feelings that we're talking about. It's like no one wants to, but these things are still happening. People are still being targeted, and violence is happening to people all over the world, and all over, that doesn't need to happen. And people are saying, "Oh, I'm fearful of that person because of, yeah, an illusion." Same thing. I was afraid for of them because of this. It's like, yeah, anyone can say that. You
Right.
can say that about any situation or anything, that I was afraid for my life for this or for that, or to. So this is definitely a time to fix it. We got to fix it, but one stone, one rock, one story, one thing at a time. And I'm glad that I'm here to be able to pitch in what I can pitch in to help fix it, man. Because
Yeah. Well, your
yeah.
story is incredible. I mean, even just thinking, I had a question for you. If anyone else in your family decided to move out of the South and kind of transcended through that, or were you the main one? Because I'm curious.
I am the main one. Everyone else, they're still there. They still pretty much, they're from the South. They still live that Southern way. It's interesting for me because I've stepped out of that, and I wanted to live a different lifestyle anyway. I had my eyes set on, I wanted to be an actor, and when I was a kid, a crazy story. My whole reasoning for saying what I said earlier about having heroes. My hero was Sidney Poitier. When I was a kid, I looked a lot like Sidney Poitier, which was, that just happened. That had nothing to do with me. Had nothing. I remember, as long as I could remember being a kid growing up, people would stop my mom and me and say, "Your kid looks like Sidney Poitier," or "Is that his son? Is that?" And just, it would happen a lot. And I just sort of was like, okay, when I got old enough, I would watch his movies, and I was like seeing who this person was, and yeah, I could see the resemblance. And so it became a power that I had. All of a sudden, I had this extra thing that made me special. And it elevated me. It made me see a side of my world, my lack of financial living, the way that we lived and things. Yeah, I remember our lights were turned off for 3 months, and it was great. My mom, we made the most of it. We barbecued. It happened to be summer. And the crazy thing is, my cousins who live close by, whose lights were on, would come to our house because they were like, "This is awesome. We're going to hang out with you guys." And so, yeah, it sounds crazy, but even in those hard times, we made the most of it. So my in the Sydney thing just put my eye on, like, oh, a black man could look what he's doing could be different. You could live in a way and move through life in this way that I'd never seen before. In high school, so then I got interested in acting and that whole thing, and so that put my sight on that. And so that's how I got involved in movies. I was in school. I quit school when I got on the James Cameron film, just to be in the art department. I got wind from a friend, and that rhymed. It wasn't supposed to, but and that she was working on a movie, and she was like, "It's The Abyss," and I didn't know what that was, and I said, "Get me on," because the only thing I heard was movie, and so that was my connection, my whole thing. And so I quit school. I got on that film, and it turned into a long career. But it put my sights in a place that it was magic to me. I was like, I'm seeing the elite of Hollywood right there. I'm at so and so's house right now. It was, it fed my ego. It fed
Mm-hmm.
something that I was interested in and something that I wanted. So for me, that's what pulled me away from the South. And my family, they saw that in me, and they're still there, and I love them for that. And it's like my direction and my path has led me, here in New York, which is just great because I couldn't, I couldn't stay in the South. I've spent my life there, and I know what that's like. And it wasn't giving me what I wanted, and I wanted something different.
Yeah.
So
That's incredibly powerful.
yeah,
It's
and
I
yeah.
think yo,
I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
no, sorry. And to go back to that, just in happenstance, I at one point I got to spend the day with Sidney Poitier. Um, I had a friend
Wow.
who I got into the film industry, a good friend. Uh, he was in North Carolina. I was living in New York, and he was working on a film. He was a driver, and he says, "You're not gonna believe it. Guess who I'm driving?" You know, he became the personal driver to Sydney. He told Sydney my story. He's a good friend who looks like you, and he's acting in New York. I was doing Blue Man Group,
Mm-hmm.
and which was different. And Sydney said, "I want him to come down." I flew from New York to North Carolina straight to the film set that he was working on. He was working on a movie, and it was crazy. And I was there. His people met me. I was outside. He cut for a scene or something. He came right over to me, and I started crying.
Wow.
It broke me down. Here's someone that I'd seen who set me on my path, and he came over to me, and I spent the entire day with him, and it shaped my life. And at first, I set it up for myself because it was my choice to look and see who he was, and to have him as a sort of a mentor for me, a marker for life and what's possible. And here this man was in the 60s, who won the first black actor to win the Academy Award and things. So it was a great marker for me to have, and for him to be such an amazing person. I mean, it's one of the greatest people I've ever met. His heart is huge. To invite this kid down, he didn't know anything about me. He's got a million things or people he could have invited down. He was like, "Come," and I came, and he came. And we spent the day. We had lunch, and we talked, and yeah, man, it was great. And I think every person needs to have someone like that in there. If you can find your own thing that drives you to something, to make yourself better, to improve yourself, to set your sights, or to find out who you are, and to do what your life is meant to do and to be. And so that was really, really, really big for me.
Dude, that is fucking beautiful, man. I'm like tearing up from that.
Oh man.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, man. It was really special.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible how strangers can mention something to you in passing, and you're like, "Oh, what is this? Who is this person? What is this thing that people are referencing?" And then you transcend that if you connect with it, right?
Yeah. It's the power.
That's wild,
Dude, the power that we put it in the universe. I mean, you know all this. The power that we have, that once you tap into it, because I spent years with this man in my mind, in my thing, and the universe made it happen. I made it happen.
right?
That yeah, that moment did not have to happen, but it did. And I felt the power in me making that happen. And and I take that. I say that, hey, all things are possible. You can make whatever happen that you need to happen. As long as it's for good, you're not going to hurt anyone. You're not going to do anything wrong. But if your soul and your spirit, if you're aligned with something, you can make it happen.
Yeah. I want to ask you a couple questions around this, because I think it's important for people to understand. There's different strategies to exist in that power of the universe. Beyond kind of respecting and idolizing Sidney Poitier for what he did and who he was, and as a model, right? As a role model, were you like intentional about the pursuit of meeting him in any way, or were you just in the creative flow and that just happened? The way you made it sound is it literally just happened, right? And
Yeah.
I want the true story of that to come out, because I think it's really important.
I think it was the energy that I put into the universe with that. Because it felt important to me that someone existed that made me feel and be a certain way that I had become. Um, uh, you know, it was sort of the crazy thing is, it's like I always knew that would happen, which blows my mind. Like when it happened, I was not surprised that it happened.
Yeah.
Because my beliefs are, I believe that, yeah, when people would sort of get into this mode of, like they say, like people set celebrities and rock stars and people up on this high thing. For me, I don't know, maybe because I was in the film industry, I felt like they were just people. Everyone, and my thing is, in the world, we're all just people. Everyone is just a person. So what makes you not think that you can't talk to that person or meet that person or anything like that? Here I was some kid from North Carolina, and then one day I'm standing on a movie set and James Cameron is calling me over to do something. Why not? Why not? Why not be able to have these? But the thing is, with that energy, you have to be open to it. You have to be, if you're not open to it, you block it. It gets blocked. It can go from, you could feel a certain way, but if you don't really believe it, it won't happen. But if you truly believe that, okay, I want to do a thing, it may not come in the way that you think it's going to do. Like I said, I wanted to act, but I was just open. And so when I heard the word movie, it didn't matter to me what side of the camera I was on. I was like, okay, I'll do film production work. I worked behind the scenes for almost 10 years on films, but you know what? But because I was close to that, it made me happy. It fed something in me, and I knew that path would get to the next thing. And then later, I felt really fortunate to have my mental, because growing up was hard. Like I have to say, growing up, my mom drank a lot, and so me and my two sisters, we went through some things, and I didn't know those things, which there's some issues that my mom had that I didn't learn until later in life, and I understand and I understood, and it was eye opening for me, but. Growing up as a kid, there were times when, man, it was crazy. It was straight up crazy. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stories, and I was gonna actually write a book about my mom, because my mom is awesome. She's still here, still kicking around. Just really great heart, great style, great person, great everything, man. Gave me what I am today. And my dad also. My dad was a lot older when I was a kid. He was 54 when I was born. So
Wow.
There's a story in there. There's a book or something in there. But I'm off my point right now.
That's why we just have a conversation.
So
this is where it's meant to go. I think. I absolutely think you should write a book. I mean, just what you said right now alone is a book in a lot of ways, right? And my point in asking the question isn't to put you on the spot. It's I think a lot of people, what I've realized in my journey is a lot of people try to put a lot of structure in place around like being in, like, you got to write your goals down, you got to look at them, you got to read them, you got to meditate on them. And that is one way. That absolutely
Right.
is one way.
Yeah, definitely.
There's another component to that where you, at some point, you move past all that, right? Some people, I think it has something to do with creativity and tapping into your own creativity. And that doesn't mean that you need to be an artist or an actor or any of those things. Creativity can come in many different forms. And I think when you tap into that from your heart and you're open to the journey, that's when you notice things start really happening without resistance. You know, I think we create a lot of resistance by feeling the need to plan and structure. And it meets a human need of like certainty. I get that.
Right.
And some people need that.
Right.
But there is something beyond that. And that's what I wanted to give a sense. As you were talking, I was like, man, people, if you take anything away from this conversation, it's like, stay open,
Yeah.
follow your heart, and let the universe come to you, you know?
Yeah. Because
which I know sounds crazy in like the achiever American culture of like, go out and make shit happen. And that's true. You do. The thing that I try to teach my kids is like when they work something up and I can see it, I can sense that they're getting nervous about it or they're making it a bigger deal than maybe it potentially is. I keep it simple and I'm like, hey, there's only one thing left to do. And I'm like, what is it? And they're like, just do it. And I'm like, that's right. You got to just go. At some point, you got to fucking launch. You got to just move. You got to go do something. Like we get in the habit of over analyzing all these things. And I think part of that is like the nature of work has kind of conditioned people and even the education system to think that they need to be productive when what they may need to do is just take a year and fucking unplug, right? And experience life in its form without a bunch of expectations or a bunch of goals. It doesn't mean that you're not going to go back to it, but that time may open you up in a way that you have no idea.
That is the moment, I think, right now. I mean, this whole COVID thing, I think everyone who can, I know people have to work and they have to make money, but even just being together with your family it's been so important. The pause, exactly what you just said, needs to happen, needed to happen, needs, instead of, it being used not for the right purpose, it's the time to find and to let go of all that structure and those things and those, those things that we've created inside of our minds, that we just wake up every day and we're go, 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 and think of the thing. You got to run. I got to get this done. Dude, we still get trapped in that sometimes, but you have to get into a place to set your mind up and realize there's another side of us all, that's the thing that needs to be shining. Not the stuff you accomplish, not the stuff that you can buy, not the things that you can have and you can show other people. And that, in the end, that stuff doesn't mean anything. That's why humanity, we need to get back to a place where we can be loving and be open, like what we're talking about. It's about being open. And that's what the problem is with a lot of stuff that's going on either side. People aren't open, but people that are open, that's where the magic happens. Because when, like I say, I know you broke out of New York, and you were open. If you weren't open to do that, you wouldn't push the button. You wouldn't
totally.
You wouldn't do it. And so, me and my wife, we've been, Christina, we've been talking about like what do we really want to do? I mean, we've been we're being successful, which is crazy. I mean, if you don't know right now, I'm an interior designer. so which is great. We just got on a cover to a major magazine. We're getting all this press, all this stuff, but we're having fun with it. But there is that side of that you talk about where it's the work, it's the thing, it's to get the next one, it's the machine, it's it's like, but you have to dig down within yourself and you got to find the peace in everything, and be open. That's how we started this whole thing. It came from the movie thing. She did movies also. We sort of knew we had this thing that could work, and it works. And but you don't have to be, trapped in anything. And there are times, man, you've seen me, where you feel trapped and you see no way out of situations and things, but there's always a way out.
Totally.
There's a and that's the power of you. Regardless, just got to stay positive in it all, man, because it's life is beautiful. There's amazing, beautiful stuff happening. People are making and doing amazing things, and we all should recognize that. And in family and love, that in the end, what do people say? Love is everything, and that's true. It is.
It is. Yeah, I agree with you on like all of that sounds so simple, and it truly is, right? If you just stop to peel back the layers, which is a process, and it takes time. It doesn't happen. Very few people just have like a singular aha moment where like all of a sudden you see total clarity with the universe. Usually it unfolds over time.
Right.
Once you unfold it, your life takes on a different force. It takes on the things that were hard become easy. Yep. Now you're consciously choosing how to stretch yourself so that you grow in the most sustainable way possible, and still allow for for a lot of things to come into your life that, you're not necessarily looking for, right? That's the whole beauty. I think that's your point, is like, it's the beauty of life and enjoying that moment. Like as we've transitioned out here, people are like, don't you miss New York? And I'm like, no, I don't, not in a way of like, maybe we should move back. I played all out there.
Yeah.
Dude, I fucking moved there with a duffel bag and $4,000, which was enough to survive for 8 months. And I went on a 15-year run and started a company and built buildings and bought buildings and like played that real estate game at the highest level. Right.
Yep. You did.
And I was in that box, and the tunnel closes in and closes in and closes into that point where you're like, okay, I can't move. I can't see anything, but
sorry about that.
No, all good. But you're like, there may be light there, right? I may be able to get out of this tunnel. I can't see it right now, but I may be able to get out. And that's what I try to communicate to people, is like that.
Yeah, man. Sorry about that.
All good, man. It's life.
Yeah.
It's life, right? It's good for people to hear that stuff. It's not like the whole intention of this show is to allow for a forum to have these types of conversations, to see, because everyone has different journeys and paths on the way there. Right.
Yeah.
And I've noticed as we've transitioned that people are like, oh yeah, but how did you like did all this work and like made all this money? I'm like, I didn't really make that much money. It's expensive to live in New York. I mean, I made more money than the average American, certainly. I did things that the average American wasn't willing to do,
right.
Yeah. And I'm okay with those things. Right. And I'm also okay taking a pause and not having any of those things.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, that the freedom to make that choice and say, well, I don't know where next year's income is going to come from.
Right.
But I'm going to follow my heart.
Right. Yeah.
You can make that choice. Right. And I'm really thankful with how resource light we were when I was growing up, because my mom never focused on money. It was just a tool for her to provide as stable as an environment as she could, you know?
Yeah, same here. Same here.
And it didn't always work, right?
Yep. Yeah.
There was a reasonable amount of instability, some, more instability than felt good to me, but a lot less than I've heard in terms of other people's lives,
Right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's an incredible thing. I think getting out of New York provides a lot of clarity, right? That's my opinion. I've gotten even more. I was clear on the way out.
Right.
And even transitioning out of the city, I mean, I get, especially to a place with so much nature, Hawaii.
Yeah. It's really important. Like I said, the last few conversations that we had when you guys were about headed out, I could see it in your eye. You were, dude, you were lasered in, and was like, it was magical to see. It was like, dude, you found your thing. You found the way it's going to be good for you. And like I said, the key was that you're open to it. I've had, people and friends, same thing. Just they refuse to be open for some things. You set them on a path, or the path is there sometimes, and you can't. They don't see it, or you can't see it. To be like, no, you can, and I've been there. I mean, I'm still working on stuff, daily, of trying to, just to be better, and to be more open, and to be more loving, and enjoying life, and not, and realizing that you don't have to be trapped in a certain way or a certain reality, because sometimes that reality, like you say, is not a real reality. It's one that you've created, that you're keeping yourself in. You're like, but I've got to do the thing, and I do, but you're like, actually you don't, because look at what just happened this year. All the realities that we had, that we all were set up for the year. I remember at the beginning of the year, the first quarter, here we go, yeah, we're doing well, blah blah blah, and then done. So we all had to pivot. We all had to do something else, and to mold ourselves into these different things in different ways. And I think that's great. I think the world, I'm so glad it didn't just happen in New York. I'm glad that, not that I'm not glad about the deaths and the things in that way. I'm glad that it made the world stop and look and pause, and to realize that they can do something different. They can feel different. They can, and there are other things, as you see, all these things just sort of kind of escalated with each other. I mean, the whole Black Lives Matter thing, and there's just so many layers to this year. I don't even know what to say, but I think it's time. It's time to tackle all this stuff and realize that it's going to take time to put a dent in it, and we should want to put a dent in it, and do as much as we can to become the people that we should be all together. Not, there are people doing great things, but as a people, we should be the best that we can be all together. I mean, it's crazy that we have to take tragedy and things to make, when people need stuff to make them be a better person. I mean, when, it's crazy. When I was, it's so bizarre, man. It's deep. It's so funny. I feel like, I guess the racism inside of me, when I became a Blue Man at Blue Man Group, I was the first African American that they hired in the show. I didn't understand what the big deal was. I was like, first of all, you're blue. So that takes away the racial part of a show, of anything like that. But I think it was a big deal. And to know that a person of color could do that, it's like, yeah, I could drum, I can nonverbal act. I can do everything that character does, and I did for almost 18 years. Um,
Wow.
yeah, long time,
That's
man, long
wild.
run. Yeah, I mean, I'm super thankful for that. Was my first job in New York. I arrived here, and within 5 months, I had that job, and I'm super thankful. But it was that universal thing again that lined me up for that.
How did that
Uh,
job come about?
Someone that I knew saw the show and they talked about it, and I was like, okay. I didn't even live in New York at the time, and then moved to New York and went to the trade papers backstage or something like that, and saw. I was like, oh, that show's having an audition. Uh, I think I had sent them a headshot probably years before or year before. Went to the audition and they recognized me from my headshot. They're like, "Oh yeah, we actually tried to get in touch with you but I had moved from North Carolina to New York and went in for the audition. Got a call back. I think that night, uh, dude. I didn't even know what the show was about. I had no idea. Nothing. Had never seen the show. Had no. All I do is like, here is these. Okay, I see these three blue guys. Okay, I don't know. They went in. They were like, okay. I went back that night. There was a callback sheet thing. They're like, hey, have you even seen the show? I was like, no. And I went and watched the show. Blew my mind. I was like, first of all, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to. I thought I would not be able to do that because the skill, the drumming was at such a high level, um, that I was like, wow, I can drum, but not like that. And I can, do these physical things, but it was, I jumped in, man, didn't think about it because I was open, didn't care, didn't, people were telling me, they're like, oh, you're the first black guy they hired. I didn't care. All I knew is I was like, I can learn to do what those guys do. I can learn the music. I can learn all those elements, and it didn't matter to me. Um, and here's this character had nothing to do with color. But the crazy thing is, in this world that we live in, people would find the thing to separate me, even when I was blue, which was bizarre to me. There were some times when people would comment on my physical features underneath. They're like, "Are you the black guy?" Or yeah, my features are what they are. So it's so funny that humans they set themselves up in a certain way that they need to do what we said, label something. They need to find some sort of thing in something. And I would think that it'd be like, did you not just see a show with three blue guys in a show that took you on this amazing journey, but you were thinking that I was the black guy underneath? I was like, you came to watch the wrong show, or But I mean, that wasn't with everyone. There are great things in there. But my point was that in that show there was this. In the early show, there was this thing where the blue men go out and get a taxi, and and that was during the time where taxis would not pick me up to take me to Brooklyn. Even after I'd done the show, I was like, this is insane. I was like, this is it is what it is. They would. I've had hundreds of taxis pull up, and I say I'm going to Brooklyn. Boom, they would just drive off with the door open or whatever. And and when 9/11,
that's why fucking Uber exists, man.
Yeah,
because fucking taxis kept driving.
Exactly, dude. That's exactly why. So I completely get that. And when 9/11 happened, it was the easiest time for me to get a taxi. It was insane. It was day and night. Taxi drivers were like, wherever you want to go. And I remember taking one taxi, and I'm not sure where the guy was from, but he was afraid for himself, for the situation of the towers going down, and people were pointing the fingers at certain races and things like that. And he was talking to me about it the whole way to Brooklyn, and he was like, my brother, we are like brothers, and he gave me the Quran. He was like, you must read this, and we must stick together, and and I felt where he was coming from, but I also felt that, why weren't people feeling like that before? Like, why does humanity need some sort of event to make them be better when we could do this every day? We could be just better. We could choose to be better. We could choose not to have wars. We could choose not to fight, and we could choose to, not do all these things, man. And it's like that time is now for us to do that.
For sure.
In this situation that we are all in, and that is what I'm saying. That I'm glad for the situation that we are all in it, and that it's not just one area. It's just not, over here. It's just not over there, because that's what we love to separate ourselves. Also, be like, oh, no, that's them. They oh, that's on New York, because and it's like no, this is humanity. Like you said, this is humanity. We are one. What do we need? Some aliens to come down to really frighten us, and that we band together? It's like, no.
Totally.
Yeah, man. It's like, no, just be better people. Just be the best that we can be.
Yeah, I would laugh, not because the concept of ending war, but because I recorded a show yesterday with AJ, who we do like a fatherhood version of this podcast.
Yeah.
And it ended on that note where we started talking a little bit about politics, and I was like, why do all the big shows that have all this distribution focus people's energy on politics? And he brought something up. I think he asked me, I don't know exactly how it came up, but he asked me, he was like, what would you do about war? And I'm like, why can't we just start the process of ending it? And he's like, I just don't think it's possible. And I'm like, it's not possible because you don't believe it's possible. I'm not saying do it irresponsibly. I'm not saying, leave countries in shambles, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you and I are on that same frequency of like, we're all just humans.
Yeah.
We're all just flying through this space. And if you can't, your mind tries to trick you into seeing the negative in all of these things.
Right. Exactly.
And that's like a baseline level of frequency. Mm-hmm. And I do think at some point it probably served a purpose. In 2020, when literally anything you could possibly imagine you can create at your fingertips, that you don't need that negativity.
No, not at all. No,
you don't need it. And it's a choice. It is a choice.
Yeah,
I know people are struggling right now, and they may feel like all of their options have been stripped away. It's not true. It's just an illusion. There's in America, at least, right?
Yeah.
There's always another option. The country is filled with stories of people that came from absolutely nothing, gave up everything, pursued what they were passionate about, and created a life for themselves. It's not just about money. You hear the ones that are about money. And I think that's part of what's distorting, is that
it is
not every story needs to end in someone being a billionaire or a millionaire.
Right.
Yeah, the stories of like the everyday heroes of guys that say, you know what, my family is more, my time that I can give to these children and my wife are more valuable than the pursuit of any material thing. That's a fucking hero, right?
No,
that's someone who doesn't need to manage their ego. And I used to, by the way, I did not used to think that way. Right. Like you, I grew up, the role models that I had were famous people.
Yep.
Because those were the people that I wanted to be like. I didn't want to be in the struggle every day.
Yeah, no, of course.
And when you look at that, that's where you go. You're like, money, 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 right? Your mind just does that.
Yeah.
And you lose kind of the compassion and creativity in the pursuit of that. You don't have to. Some people find the balance in all of it. And I think the more you do from your heart, it's just incredible to me that you literally walked into one of the most successful performing arts things of our time, and you're like, oh, I've never seen the show. Like, you tried to get a hold of me, I had moved.
yeah, no, like completely.
And then you did it for 18 years, and it's what within it did you really love about it? Was it the music or the physical? Was it the combination of those things? Because I know you're musically inclined,
Yeah,
and I'm just curious.
it was, in the end, it was the human connection. It was because Blue Man Group does not have the third, the fourth, the wall. There is no wall. The character roams the audience in the show. We grab unsuspecting people from the audience and we bring two of them on stage during the show. Uh, at least the last iteration of the show that I did, that's what we did, and it was powerful because here you have an audience who have become a sort of a collective at the beginning of the show, uh, because they've got these signs and things that are telling, kind of giving them this, sort of prompting them, and so they, by the time the show starts, they are a unit. It's like a group of people together. They're here, and there's always, of course, those dads and those people who sit there with their arms folded who don't want to really be involved in that. That's like humanity. There are people who are open to be into something, and there are people who are not. And yeah, they sit there and they with their friends like, hey, what is this thing going on here? Yeah, okay, all right. And the great thing is, in this show, I've seen that roll over. I've seen at the end of that show, that guy who was sitting there with his arms is on his feet, hitting these giant balls that we throw out in the audience and having a ball and laughing and, doing all these things. Um, I thought that was powerful to be into something, and the character, you literally could have individual moments with people. You could walk out into the audience and stare someone right in the face. I mean, that's what the character does. He's wide-eyed and he's curious, and he's might be a little dangerous, or he's about to, do something really fun or something. And people were you could see it was very telling for humanity for me. There was this. Sometimes there'd be a sadness in someone's face, and sometimes there'd be this joy, and sometimes there'd be this fear, and sometimes there'd be this unknowing, that's when we would bring people on stage, there'd be people who would pull away. It's funny. You're pulling someone on stage, they're pulling away, but they're standing up at the same time. So they're sort of saying, I don't want to go on stage, but I want to go. And so they would rise and they would come, and then they would have the best time of their lives. Or some people would, I've seen people cry on stage from having so much fun. I've seen people being really fearful, and that's what we do as humans. But I got to be this silent character for 18 years and to entertain people without saying a word, not saying anything, but just with my openness, because that character is so open. So the great thing about the show, my show was never the same show, because the audience was always different. It's just like walking outside. You're not going to run into the same people every day. And so I was open to move within the confines of the show, but to be open to that human audience and what they were going to give me and what I was going to give back. And yes, but the music was amazing, which would then suck people in even more. That's what I thought was amazing. I was like, Blue Man Group is being in one of the greatest bands ever, that never has to sing, that's having, you set people up with this physical comedy, with this stuff and these things that you're like, how the hell can these guys do this? We would throw and catch things and catch stuff in our mouths, and we would do all these things, and people would just be like, what am I watching? And then we would go into this music that was on these PVC pipes. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing. And yeah, the comedy was great. But that was the connection for me, was being connected to the audience. And I remember late after, when I first got in the show, just being physical and going all out. I had 2 knee surgeries from the show, from doing that all out physical craziness, jumping off the stage and just being going as 100% as you can. In the end, I realized that I could give the same amount of energy without the crazy physical. And my character was deeper because the character was me. Uh, and that's what I learned. I was like, and it taught me something about myself, um, into how to connect with people on a whole nother level. And it was, yeah, there were times where I cried in the show, in the character, where just a moment with someone, like, just takes 10 seconds. You're looking at someone, they're looking at you, and neither person is saying anything. And sometimes you can see a sadness in someone's face, or you can see this, all of the emotional content that humanity has to offer. In that show, I got to do that for 18 years. And even with some, like I say, with this fame thing, even people, super famous people, same thing. It's crazy. My very first movie, um, role that I got was, Rambling Rose, and my scene was with Robert Duvall, which was mind blowing. Once again, the universe handed me, being this black kid who just wanted to act. I got an agent in a small town in Wilmington, North Carolina. That's when I moved there to, actually was doing film production. I was still doing film production. Got a call to come work on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the very first one. I was like, okay, I went, but in my heart of hearts, I still wanted to act. I was like, okay, I'm going to get a local agent. I did. And not long after, she called me and she's like, I got an audition for you. I auditioned for this role of this movie called Rambling Rose, with Laura Dern, Robert Duvall. And my two scenes was just me and Robert Duvall. And I was like, my mind was blown, was just on fire, because Robert Duvall is like
He's a
he is
legend.
oh my God, man.
Yeah.
His skills are off the charts. I mean, they've always been off the chart. Everything he's ever done was off the charts. And here I am, just wide-eyed and just like, I mean, and I felt super fortunate. And I did that. And I remember watching him. And afterwards, I was like, he didn't do anything.
What do you mean?
Oh, I was like, when we were doing our scenes, I expected something more. I was like, he didn't do anything. And then when I went and watched the movie, I was like, holy shit. I was like, he did everything. But because of who he is, so subtle, so in it, so I learned so much in my first film role. I was like, oh, you just be yourself is the key. Being yourself, just coming with your heart, knowing what you have to say. Just be yourself. Before I had this idea of be the character, be this thing. It's like, but I'm always going to be the character. And that's what I learned in Blue Man Group, was even not saying anything, be myself. And that was the key. And to run that full circle, one show, I jumped off we used to climb through the seats, through the audience. I jumped down. I'm standing right in front of Robert Duvall.
What? Dude, that's fucking nuts.
No shit, man. Here I am, silent, and I'm staring right at Robert Duvall. I was like, it was crazy. I was like, it's like this full universal circle thing. It was magic. It was magical.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and he, of course, he had no idea who I was, but I was like, this is a very special moment for me. Another one. I've
Right.
had
Right.
yeah. So yeah, man, the power and the things are there, and it's the simple things. It's us being able to just to be open and to want things to be better and to be more, because we are all can be more.
Yeah. It sounds like you've been fully present in a lot of what you've done in life. And what I mean by that is like, actually, and probably because the fact that you were acting and you had this responsibility to be on stage and to put on this show. And I actually even think because you weren't allowed to talk, you had to be even more present in those performances, which, I mean, dude, I'm not going to lie. I've had all the people that I've talked to, super thankful for. Everybody has an incredible story. I feel the universal flow of love through fucking the interweb of things right now from you. And we've talked about we haven't talked at this length about your whole story, but it's really beautiful, man. I'm like on the edge of tears this entire time.
Yeah, man. Dude, I'm so thankful. I mean, yeah, I've like anyone else, I've, haven't been the perfect human, but I want to be in my way, and for my family and for the life that I'm living. And I know that there's so much more to give and to take the ego out. I've spent time in the ego, and it's like that doesn't serve you at all. It doesn't. And the things that I've been able to do in my life so far have been, man, growing up in North Carolina in our little tiny house, and my mom just having these dreams and these aspirations. Dude, it's man, I'm getting teared up too. We like I say, even today, like I said, my wife and I have an interior design business, and yeah, we made the cover of House Beautiful magazine this month off of a job that we'd never done anything like this. We took it on right before COVID as just, we decided, we're like, sure, we'll do that. And we did. And at the end of the project, it was an amazing project. And they were like, they did 2 covers for the month, and they were like, we chose your room as one of the covers. Man, that blew my mind, because when I was a kid, here we are in this little house in North Carolina, in Charlotte, and my mom used to get House Beautiful magazine, and I would flip through that magazine with her, just dreaming of just having a house like this or a house like that, and in a chair like that, and all that stuff, man. So that stuff was embedded in me, and then to get on the cover of that magazine is, I can't even say anything, man. I'm just trying to maintain, and I realize how the universe works and how there's a power, man. There are times I don't use it, but it's happening, man. It's happening all around me all the time. I mean, everything I'm doing, like I said, I didn't even, my wife is a genius at interior design, man. And
you guys are incredible.
Yeah. And when she pulled me in with her to do this, and then when I realized what we were doing together just turned into this other thing, and we're just, just hitting a stride, to think that we did a job that is, there was no money for us. It was for free. So we were just like, yeah, we'll work on this project, and it was, and the outcome was beautiful. It was like, we did this thing for the love of what we do. And yeah, and I can't, my sister is gonna, show my mom the magazine. My mom is in North Carolina. I mean, she's older. Her health is not so great, but yeah, that'll be exciting for her when I, can explain to her, be like, yeah, I'll be like, look, we designed that room that's on the magazine that we used to look at. I used to look at with you. So yeah,
that's pretty cool stuff, man.
Yeah, man.
It's you created it.
Yeah.
There's not really any other way to put it. That's really, really powerful stuff.
Yeah, man.
You were the walking embodiment of creativity. You guys, I'm glad that the universe put us together in a strange, in bankruptcy and chaos, you know. And
Oh man, I know, man. Isn't that crazy, dude? Because yeah, when when you did your building and you called us up and you were like, "Hey, I'm building a building," and we were like, "We're in," and dude, that was awesome. It was.
that was awesome. That was a tough project for me on a
Oh
lot of
man,
levels. And
yeah,
but it was awesome. And I honestly, I didn't even think, I told you guys, I didn't even consider anyone else. I don't know why. In that project that we worked on at Lehman, there was just like a special connection there,
yeah, man.
you know.
It's like I really am thankful to you for that, man. It's like I'll never forget that. I remember you saying exactly you like I haven't called anybody else. I called you guys, and and the crazy thing is, dude, we were uptown and drove by the building 2 days ago.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
crazy.
still standing.
Yeah, and it looks great.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah. Well, you guys had a big part in that.
Yeah,
I'm regardless of how difficult it was, I'm in it. It makes me proud to know that I could create that in my mind and go do it.
dude. That's
You know,
yeah, yeah. That's that thing, man. The power that we all have, and how we need to use it, and keep it moving. And I just want all the noise. Getting rid of we got to get rid of the noise. Uh,
totally.
because it's there, it's everywhere, and it's you know, I think once we realize that we can purposely, make the decisions to get rid of the noise, then we can, see clearly. And seeing clearly doesn't mean that we all have to agree. And that's
Totally.
you know, I think that's what throws people off. They think that, oh, you're not this, and I'm not that, and I'm not going to ever be that. It's like that's okay. That's really okay, because in the end, we all go to the same. We leave this place in the same way. So
Yeah.
it's not
And
some
nothing's going with you but the
nothing.
soul, man.
Nothing. That's it. Nothing
That's
at
it.
all.
Yeah. That's I know you guys will get the clarity you need. If the universe has ever sent you a sign, I would say write that book. And dude, you were like built for this, man. I feel like you guys, start a show.
You know what? Yeah.
If you're interested.
Yeah. You know what? I think that will happen also. I think whatever we're thinking. I mean, we've got some things cooking up. Uh, as you know, we've been just fortunate because, like I said, we use our minds to create. Like you said, we don't have any. Yeah, we're open to the craziness of it all. Like I said, we created the switchboard thing that we made, which is this surfboard with speakers in it, but it's not for surfing, but it's just listening of so it doesn't end up in a land heap somewhere, but just a cool thing that we just came up with, and we're in wallpapers and designs and stuff, and we just I think that's what life has to be. If you close yourself off and don't be open to ideas and things, I mean, then you're limiting yourself on. And yeah, there's fears. People get fearful. They think that, oh, I'm not going to be successful, or I'm not going to be. It's like, don't even worry about all that. Don't worry about any of that. Just do. Just do it. Just do whatever. And yeah, I'm guilty of that, of having great ideas and not moving forward on it. I definitely say that. So, but I know just doing what you love and what you want and what you feel is key, and not try to, because you're right, when, like you say, I mean, we all have to make money and we have to do stuff, but when it comes about that, it doesn't work. It just doesn't. Yeah, people may get high up and say, oh, I made all of this, but in the end, what does it really mean?
Right.
It's like
that's a healthy way to look at the universe. It's it's balanced, and I think that's just like what people need more of is the other people that have found that path,
Exactly.
you know,
Yep.
and, you're clearly, I would strongly encourage you to write that book.
All right. Yeah.
I
I've
think
thought
it's,
about it. I've thought about it for a long time. I was just like, I mean, it's you divulge your life and you put it out there and your stories and your things, but it makes for anything that is going to uplift people and help someone else see that what's possible is key, because we all have read that book from someone else. And you imagine if they didn't write that book,
totally.
if they didn't say anything, if they kept it to themselves. That's not how we do this. It's like, it is about sharing, and it's about, like you say, even strangers can affect you. Even someone doesn't know you, if they pay you a compliment or say something to you, it could stick with you forever. So that is the connection of humanity, that is that we have to realize that it is, um, that it's we're all connected, and it's, there's no getting away from it. That is the, all I could say about that is, like, we think that, oh, well, if you're in a gated community, if you're over here, but in the end, the human connection, that's all we all are, and we have that. We are connected. We are, and it shouldn't matter about race or finances or anything like that. It's like, we're all connected, and
Yeah, man.
you know,
I think ultimately that's what this country is about. I mean, it's what all of humanity is about. And I say that about this country because it is a special place where you have a lot of more freedom than most people get.
yeah,
And you're in the lucky sperm club just by being a part of it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
With the imperfections and the blemishes and
Oh yeah,
those things, which is like, I thought of something earlier when you were talking about that kind of need for perfection. And I think the perfect human is imperfect. That's what makes you perfect, right?
it is.
It's that ability to think about something that you experienced and decide to grow from that, right? Think about something you read, think about an experience you had in life and grow from that. And as someone who spent the majority of my life swimming upstream, resisting that,
Right.
your experience is entirely different once you make it through on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think the key is just being open.
Yeah. Yeah.
Know that there is another side, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And believe it and move through life in your journey, right? And that's honestly, it's my objective for these interviews and this podcast is, or my philosophy, I should say, is you never know what is going to resonate with someone.
Right. Exactly.
Right. The same way the people who told you that you looked like Sidney Poitier could never know what that would mean to you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And you took that compliment and created meaning out of it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is the essence of a community and being human and just being good to other people, even though you may not know them that well,
Yeah, man.
It's not really hard to do.
That's 100%. That's what we're talking about. Passing it on, just passing on positive. Is even like you say, the slightest things, or just saying hello to someone on the street, or paying someone a compliment, or anything. That's how we're all connected, and that's how we should be, and that's how we should stay. And we should, like, we live in this stuff, man, where people get online and they comment and they say nothing but negative things. Yeah, that's not the way it should be. It should be, if you don't have anything to say that's going to uplift someone or make them feel good about themselves, don't say anything. That is definitely my philosophy. now. It's like we don't. That's the key, is that we don't all have to agree, but you don't have to let someone know in an ugly way that you don't agree. There's ways to either not say anything, because you're not going to move the needle by being ugly or mean or like that. It's like, no, just pass on good things, because yeah, that does change the world. That does make us go in the right direction. So regardless of where you are and what side you think you're on, just only say good things and do good things, and
It's beautiful stuff, man. I've found, as I personally have kind of let go of the ego component, I've found a lot of peace in just being silent.
Right.
And in what that means, it may sound odd that I'm putting out a podcast where I'm talking, but I honestly do like just to listen. I mean, this was an intense episode for me. If you couldn't tell that from tone, if you're listening, or from video.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I had no idea where this was going to go today.
Me neither. Me neither. But yeah. I knew it was going to go somewhere good. Right.
But it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, I sincerely appreciate you sharing your story and the truth of your experience in your story. It's a powerful thing. I think a lot of people will gain a lot from it. And I'm looking forward to reading a book, if the universe has that in store for us. Yeah, or whatever else comes up, listening to a show, or whatever the creative mind of General comes up with next, because I know it's going to be amazing.
All right. Thank you so much, man. I'm glad I was able to get on here and do this with you. This is fantastic, man.
Yeah. Where do you want to point people to find you at for some of the different things you guys are doing?
You know what? They can go to our website, just Me and General Design. That's me and A-N-D, just spelled out, and generaldesign.com. And you can check us out and see what we're up to. And or you can go to, actually, there's a on YouTube right now. You can check out it's House Beautiful Whole Home Denver on YouTube. It's their series. Hold on, look at me. Let's see. I'm having to look on my phone.
Yeah, no. If you send me the link, I'll post that in the episode notes too, along with your website.
Yeah, I'll send you that, and people can check that out. It's going to be up for a few months, but it's a look into our interior design company and the project that we're talking about that we did in Denver, that we got on the cover, and we're so thankful for. And I'm thankful for all of this. I'm thankful for being able to talk to you, and all of it, because it's worth being thankful for. Everything.
Thank you, man. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
All right, folks, that's it. General, whoa, that went to a deeply philosophical and spiritual place. I was really overcome with a lot of emotion during that interview. I think General's story just hits you in the heart, and I'm really glad that we were able to do this. That was incredible. There's so many nuggets. As I'm processing it, I always struggle trying to make clips, because the whole conversations matter, and the flow of them matters, because it builds up to these points of these nuggets. And I really feel this was one of those episodes where the whole thing is a nugget. So if you watch the whole thing, I appreciate it. General appreciates it. Make sure you check them out and follow them on social media and check out what they're doing from a design perspective. They are incredible designers, world-class designers. They just had an episode launch, which we'll put in the episode links. And that's the beauty of two people coming together, having a real conversation. So I'm glad you guys enjoy it. Shout out to Chris Williams for producing the show, as always, and look forward to the next one.